Hello and welcome to Catacris Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.catacris.com. My name is Jason J. Rock Houston, and once again, I have on the line with me Kris Gustofson, the drummer from Trauma. How you doing today, Kris? Good to be talking to you again.
Hey, how are you? I'm doing great.
Yeah. Now, as many people may know, you're the drummer in the band Trauma, and a lot of people, when they hear Trauma, they immediately go to thinking of Cliff Burton because that was his Pre-Metallica band. But the band has been around. You've stayed together and you're around in, all these years later, and you just put out a great new album called Awakening. So let's talk a little bit about the new album and how long it's been out and how people have been responding to it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, just fire away, man.
Okay, well, I guess let's get into the new album. I mean, how long ago did you put out your last album? I was curious before this one.
As the World Dies, that came out in 2000. Let me think about this, man. I think it was either 2018 or 19.
Okay, so it's been a few years, but so definitely, I'm assuming like a lot of bands, COVID kind of shut you guys down, weren't able to do too much.
Yeah, that's quite an understatement, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So in regards to the new album, were a lot of the songs recently written, or did you write these songs like just prior to going into the studio?
Well, a lot of the tunes we started working on probably towards the end of 2019 into 2020, and we went into the studio to start recording the stuff, and our lead singer at the time, Donnie Hillier, unfortunately passed away in September.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of the tunes were written with his singing style in mind and everything. So when that happened, we weren't even sure if we were going to even record. We weren't sure what we were going to do.
I got you.
But the producer we had recommended Brian Allen, and knew Brian for many years, and we got really lucky in finding him, and he wanted to do it, and so we started the process back up, and we just kind of went from there.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And let me ask you, before you found your new singer, was there ever a point where you guys considered, maybe we should pack it in, our singer's passed on, or did you always kind of have that kind of attitude you wanted to carry on?
Well, I wasn't too sure. Me or anybody else in the band, we weren't too sure what we were going to do. We had all this material written, but our lead singer unfortunately passed away. Yeah. And I know right before Donnie got to a point where he really couldn't communicate very well anymore. He wanted the band to go on if possible. Wow. But we weren't too sure of like how we were going to, fill his shoes. Yeah. Because he was like the original singer from like day one. Oh, wow. And so, when you go through something like that, I mean, on one hand, I guess the guy's kind of giving you his blessing to carry on if that's what you want to do. God bless him for that. But let me ask you, and you had these tunes in hand, and you're like not really sure what the band's future is at that point. So once you decide, okay, we're going to try to carry on, what was the thought process as far as getting a new singer? I mean, I understand somebody recommended you a new singer, Brian, but I guess what I'm asking is, did you think, okay, we need to get a singer that can do these songs justice? We need to get somebody that sounds like the original singer, or we're just going to kind of see what comes our way. Well, the thing with Donnie, there was no way we were going to find a singer that would replicate him, because he had such a unique, such a killer range. Yeah. We tried some people out, but they just didn't really fit with what we were trying to do. Yeah. But when how it happened was we sent Brian a tape with no vocals on it. Oh, wow. And, so we're, go in the studio, go somewhere up where you live and, go into the studio and sing on it, and then we'll kind of take it from there. And we were actually all surprised what he came back with. So, oh, wow. That's kind of how it worked.
And so, what was the point? I mean, I guess when you got that tape back, but once he really was in the band and you guys are, starting to record and work on the new album, was there a point in that process where, yeah, this is working, this is the guy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first couple, takes that he did on a couple of the songs, when we heard the playback, we were like, oh, my God, wow, this is going to sound pretty cool.
Yeah. And like you said, it's hard to replicate the original guy because he was such a unique singer. But so at that point, you say, Brian, okay, we understand, you can't sing like that, but we want you to feel free to do your thing and kind of do what you do.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't looking for anybody to go, oh, you got to sing this exactly like this, because that would have been impossible.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's nothing like same type of music as Trauma, but like you take a band like Van Halen, and you compare David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar. I mean, both great singers in their own right, but you look at David Lee Roth. I mean, he was great for that original sound, and he kind of had his own little vibe going, and I loved like his nonsensical lyrics. But then Sammy Hagar was much more of a singer, a songwriter, and each guy kind of brought something to the table,
Right.
And I think that's always unique. And and you're the drummer, you're the backbone of a band. So I got to ask you, Kris, you're another guy that's been there since day one, and you guys were a big part of that Bay Area Thrash scene. What do you remember from that time? And you could have known that that movement was going to be as huge as it was.
Oh no! I mean, back then, man, all these bands, Testament, Exodus, Metallica, Lost Rocket. I mean, tons of a whole bunch of Bay Area bands. All these bands were just starting out. And we would do gigs, at the Stone and, all the clubs that were in San Francisco at the time.
Yeah.
Nobody knew, 30 years or 40 years later, like there was this Bay Area thrash metal scene that was going to be like so worldly known, and everybody was just trying to find their place at the time.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even realize that, you think of Metallica these days as a Bay Area band, but they were originally from Los Angeles. I think James Hetfield grew up in Downey, California, so
right.
And they kind of relocated, as I understand, because of your former bass player, Cliff. I guess he enjoyed being so much part of that scene up there that when he left Trauma to join Metallica, he's like, okay, that's the one condition. If you want me to join Metallica, you guys are going to have to come up here.
Yeah, well, there was a metal scene going on in L.A., but you got to remember that was the
very different.
The birth of the hair metal band.
Sure.
And it was like a completely different world.
Oh, sure.
At that point in time. But in the Bay Area, man, there was gigs every 7 days a week, nonstop. I mean, the scene it was crazy. It was like that in a lot of major cities.
Yeah, and so going back to kind of early days of Trauma, what year was the band first formed, and can you tell the story how the band first got together?
Well, just so you know this, I joined the band after Cliff already joined Metallica.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
The band, if I remember right, I think the band started in like 1981.
Okay, I apologize because again, that's part of the reason. I'll be honest, Kris, is that to be talking to you today is because I know, again, when people mention the name Trauma, it's like kind of the band for many people is an interesting kind of little footnote in metal history, and I think it's great to be talking to you because again, to be honest, I don't know too much about the band myself, but I love talking to guys like you that are involved with the band. You may not, I guess, apparently been there from day one, but you're a big part of the story now, and so I think that's one reason I've been looking forward to talking to you because we get a little more out there about the band's history, so people know a little more about it, you guys.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're going to be touring with Queensryche
and Marty Friedman.
Yeah, in March. We had like 33, 34 shows we're going to do with them. We're super excited about doing that because the band, for many years, we just never had any opportunity like that, and we're super stoked to get out there and play for people, and people can finally really listen to us.
Yeah. I think it's really going to put the band's name out there on a higher level than it's ever been, and I think that's now, how did this tour come about? And the reason I ask is because I assume that this Queensryche's tour, Marty Friedman, is Marty Friedman opening too, or is he considered a co-headliner?
Yeah, well, Marty Friedman's direct support. We're the opening act.
Oh, wow, see? And again, you just look at that bill of bands right there. I mean, Queensryche, Marty Friedman, Trauma, they're all, I guess you could say, in the metal category, but they all do something a little different,
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to probably be playing most of the material off the new album. That's quite heavy. It's definitely a lot heavier than anything I think Marty Friedman or Queensryche does.
Oh, sure.
But but basically, they listened to our new CD and had a vote and wanted us to do it. Brian Allen happens to be a really good friend with Todd.
Oh, okay.
And so we had to go through some hoops before we were selected to do it, but they took a vote and everybody voted for us. They wanted us to be the opening act. So that's kind of how that came about, and we jumped at the chance.
I bet. I mean, and again, for example, who's not a Queensryche fan? I mean, I've been a huge fan since way back when, in the 80s when Queensryche was just getting started. But here's the thing with that is they've gone through a major lineup change, with Todd. Jeff Tate's no longer, of course, in the band. And again, kind of like what I was saying about Van Halen, two totally different bands, and it's amazing. There was a point in my life, and like a lot of people, well, you probably never would have thought that Queensryche could have lasted without Jeff Tate, but they've been able to do it, and I say, more power to the guys, and there's I think there's room for Jeff Tate, and there's room for Queensryche to do what they do, but it's a great thing. And then there's Marty Friedman. When like myself, when Marty Friedman first came on my radar during his time with Megadeth, but he's as you know, immersed himself in the Japanese culture, lived over there in Japan for like the last 30 years. He's become like a pop music TV icon over there in Japan, and been very successful at it.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, definitely.
And so, again, what year did you say it was when you joined up with the band?
I joined the band, I believe it was like 1980, right towards the end of 1982.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then pretty much, we played gigs like all the time.
Yeah.
We started writing the material for the Scratch and Scream album. And I'm pretty sure we recorded it in 83, and then the record came out in 84.
Oh, wow. And so let me ask you, so you were on obviously on that Bay Area music scene before you ever joined Trauma. Now, I was curious at that time, had you ever encountered Cliff Burton, or did you ever get a chance to meet him during that time?
Oh, yeah. He would occasionally come to our gigs and just hang out with us and, have a beer and just, bullshit and tell us about, their stuff they're doing with Metallica and everything. So he was still a friend of the band's. Oh,
yeah, sure. And, of course, who doesn't remember where they were, when they heard the tragic news of his passing in 1986? Do you remember how you first heard the news, or who broke it to you?
I'm pretty sure it was like Donnie Hillier.
Okay. Yeah.
Or Mike Overton that told me. It was pretty shocking. Yeah. I was just glad that, a tragedy that Cliff unfortunately got killed, but man, it could have been a lot worse.
Oh, sure. I mean, you heard other guys in Metallica talk about it. I heard Kirk Hammett say, wow, the two of them got in an argument over who was going to sleep in which bunk, and he's like, man, I was supposed to be in that bunk. Just think about having to live with that.
I'm sure those guys think about it more often than not.
Yeah.
They were extremely lucky that it didn't completely wipe the whole band out. Like,
Leonard Skinner.
Crash with Leonard Skinner, took practically the whole band out.
Yeah. And Leonard Skinner, it's interesting, not to get off topic, but it's interesting that if you've all followed their career, Leonard Skinner to me is much more than a band. It's almost become like a family, a way of life that, guys have died over the years and other guys come in and kind of fill in. It's kind of an interesting way of doing things. They've been able to kind of make it work, and it's almost like Leonard Skinner is much more than a band. It's, they're carrying the flag for the guys that have...
I give those guys a lot of credit, because this business is not an easy business to be in. Touring and all that stuff is not. It's not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of work. You got to be away from home.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
And Chris, share with me. Can you share with us a story of how you got the gig in Trauma? How you first got the opportunity to join this band.
Yeah. Well, I knew of the band because I saw him play a couple times before I was in it. I knew of the band, and I happened to be in a band at the time that was doing like kind of a Motorhead kind of thing, and they were looking for a lead singer, and Donnie Hillier ended up showing up one night, and I was kind of surprised to see him there, so we started talking, and he just basically said, "Hey, we're looking for a new drummer. Would you be interested in auditioning?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, man." So I got at that time I got the cassette tape, and learned 3 or 4 tunes off of it, and went to the East Bay to the band's rehearsal studio and played with these guys, and got offered the gig.
Oh wow, how great is that? And growing up, I was curious, who were some of your heroes as far as drummers that influenced you to doing what you're doing?
Are you talking about now or back then?
Well, either or. I guess you could talk a little bit about both, like drummers that influenced you when you were growing up, and drummers that you think got something going these days.
Yeah, well, my dad was a big band drummer who played with Woody Herman and a lot of very well-known jazz guys. So I kind of grew up with it as a kid. And I listened to, Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa and, Max Roach and Louis Bellson and all those type of guys. And then, of course, John Bonham, Cozy Powell, Ainsley Dunbar.
Great drummers, yeah.
And then over the years, started I started listening to a lot of fusion guys, Billy Cobham, Steve Gadd, Vinnie Colaiuta.
Oh wow!
And as far as metal guys, Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden, Cozy Powell. I think I mentioned him before.
Yeah.
Tommy Aldridge. And then as far as there's so many different people, man.
Sure.
And now I would say. A lot of guys that I like. I actually really like Casey, the drummer in Queensryche. He seems phenomenal. Scott Travis, Priest,
yeah, sure.
And Gene Hoglan.
Well, you're all over the place as far as influences. That's pretty amazing. And so being that your dad, I guess you said, was a musician and played.
Yeah.
What did he think of your music? Because it's quite different. Yeah.
He appreciated it. He wasn't like a real,
fan of it, but
hard rock or metal fan, but he would always say, when I was learning double bass drums, he'd come out in the garage sometimes and he'd go, "How in the hell do you do that?"
Yeah.
And he'd sit behind my drums and try to go, like, "Why do you need a second bass drum?"
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny. But
and so
it was quite a thing to try to, show like your dad what to do.
Yeah. And so Dad being a musician, I imagine, was a huge influence on you becoming a drummer.
Oh yeah. I don't know if it was an influence. I think it's more of a curse.
Yeah, I got it. It's in the DNA, rather. Yeah. And so, wow, that's amazing. And so, what was the age when you decided to pick up the drums? And do you remember what it was that kind of drove you to be a drummer as opposed to, say, a guitar player or a bass player?
Well, I always, I started, playing on pots and pans and stuff when I was like 6 years old. Yeah. And I'd go to my dad's gigs with him sometimes, and he'd make me sit in and play with his friends. Yeah. So it's kind of like, a learning experience doing it like that. And, I probably started getting serious about it when I was probably, 15, 16. Yeah. I was listening to a lot of like Montrose and, Van Halen and that type of stuff.
Wow. Yeah. And so, and when you think about the thing about that Bay Area music scene in the 80s, I mean, we all, everybody's got their influences, but that was really the first crop of real kind of true, really aggressive metal bands. I mean, before that you had bands like Sabbath. Probably Motorhead was maybe the most aggressive band at the time, but you didn't really and maybe Saxon was a little thrashier, but you guys really kind of I think first band since maybe Sabbath to kind of really create a sound,
Right. Yeah, I mean, Sabbath and all that were heavy, but as far as drumming was considered, they weren't really doing a lot of like the double time, fast 16th notes on the bass drums, that type of stuff.
I mean, I bring up Sabbath because they've been credited with kind of and you can see why, kind of creating the metal sound because of Iommi's injury when he was a young teenager. That's why he plays the way he does. But Bill Ward, you're very much right. He's always been described a lot more of a jazzier drummer.
Yeah. Well, that's what made a lot of those, those really early Sabbath albums. That's what made that stuff work. Yeah. The way his approach and drumming. You could totally hear the influence of jazz music in that guy's playing.
Oh, sure.
Just a really fast snare drum, tom riffs, and all that type of stuff.
And a lot of people, because just the fact that on those early Sabbath albums, Ozzy was the singer. A lot of people think he's the guy that wrote all the lyrics, but if you read the credits, you'll come to find out Geezer Butler was the guy that wrote most of the lyrics, and it wasn't until Ronnie James Dio joined the band that Geezer kind of felt, okay, well, when you got a guy like Ronnie, I don't really need to write the songs anymore,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And that's why those early Sabbath records kind of sound the way they do. And I'd imagine, being that you're so influenced by so many, like such a vast variety of different types of drummers, that probably as a musician you could play more than just thrash metal, I would imagine.
Oh yeah. Well, growing up with the background that I had, my father always, and he always pretty much said, look, don't pigeonhole yourself to just one style, because if you want to be a working musician, you got to be able to play everything. Yeah, I
mean, a great example of that is, James Lomenzo, the bass player from Megadeth. For years, he was thought of as, that's the guy that used to play in White Lion, but then he's in Megadeth now, and he's played over the years, like with John Fogerty. I heard him in an interview saying, people always ask him, hey, you're a metal guy, what are you doing playing with John Fogerty? And his response was, well, first of all, it's a pretty good paying gig, and if you can get it, why not?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, it's not a bad thing to work with a guy that is like every song he ever written
is always on the radio every day, constantly. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to? I mean, even if you think about like Phil X, the guy that replaced Richie Sambora and Bon Jovi. Okay, he's not maybe an official member, but that's got to be one of the best paying side gigs if you ever,
I'm sure he does pretty good, man.
Yeah, and then he's got his little solo thing he does on the side, but he plays in this little band called Bon Jovi. It's a pretty good paying gig.
Yeah. Well, that just goes to show you that you got to try to be able to play a bunch of different styles.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell younger guys too. Because I hear these drummers and they're trying to play a million miles an hour and all that.
Yeah.
That's fine and dandy, but it's like, that's barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, so Chris, as a drummer, what do you do to keep in shape? And what I mean by keep in shape, a lot of times you hear drummers, because they play with their hands so hard, and a lot of guys will get like carpal tunnel. What do you do to kind of stay in shape and avoid that?
I I make sure that I warm up before I play. That's a big mistake. A lot of people do not do. I like to stretch. I ride bicycles.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
Go on a treadmill every now and then. Just try to watch what I eat. Don't eat any junk food.
Yeah.
Limit. I don't drink anymore, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Just kind of watch it.
Common sense. And besides being the drummer, obviously in the band, are you at all involved with any of the songwriting?
Yeah, I mean, I come up with my own drum parts.
Interesting. Yeah.
I always listen to people's suggestions and stuff like that. So it's like a 50-50 split. When we're coming up with new material with Trauma.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to throw different ideas into the batch and try different things and all that stuff.
And then like I said, the top interview, when people hear the name Trauma, especially a lot of the metal fans, like I said, the band's kind of got an interesting little footnote in the history of metal. Oh yeah, that's the band Cliff Burton used to be in. And do you ever get tired of that or think, hey, yeah, that's true, guys, we put out a lot of great music since then?
You can never get really away from the history of it. But Cliff, that was so many years
long ago. Yeah. And
I wouldn't say it definitely does not annoy me, but nobody band really talks like, oh yeah, when Cliff was in the band.
That's what I mean. Yeah, but fans kind of have that. I'll look at it, and I hope the upcoming tour kind of changes that. And so, when does the tour kick off again? Did you say?
The first gig is in March. It's March 3rd. I believe it's in Orlando. I know it's in Florida. I just don't know what city off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's fine. People can look it up. But I guess my question is: so you guys are the opening band on this tour. A great package to be part of. I think the band's going to really kind of it's going to hopefully raise the band's profile. But being an opening, you guys are the opening band, I guess, on the tour. Any idea how long you're going to be on stage for, and how hard is it going to be to come up with a set list?
I think we have 30-35 minutes.
Okay.
Each night, maybe a little longer. I'm not too sure right now. We're starting to put songs together to come up with a really good set list. But when we're only playing
30 minutes,
35 minutes, it's 6 or 7 songs max.
And then the question there is you got the problem of how many new songs do we play off the new album versus some of the older stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if we're really going to go back
too far
and pick a bunch of older songs.
Yeah.
There might be a couple.
Yeah.
But I think primarily we really want to push the new album because we all really like it a lot.
Smart.
And the material's really fun to play. Since we have a new singer, it's almost like it's a whole different band.
Oh, sure.
It's almost like it's a whole new band.
And then I think a cool thing about a band like Trauma being the opening band on a tour like this is, like I said, Queensryche, Marty Friedman, Trauma. You guys all appeal to the metal fan base, and I think anybody who's a metal fan can go to a tour. They're going to enjoy all 3 bands, and at the same time, like anybody that's there for the entire show sees all 3 bands. You're getting a great package. A little something different, and then Marty Friedman does what he does on the guitar, and it's quite a package.
Yeah. I think people are going to dig it.
And then I think there'll be people probably on this tour discovering Trauma for the very first time, knowing nothing about the band's history, and then they're like, oh, who the hell is this band? Oh wow, this is a killer new album. I got to go out and get the whole CD. I got to tell my friends about this band, and then they're going to get even more interested when they start to get into the history of the band, and then they'll maybe go and check out some of older material.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great. We're just really excited and happy that we're even getting the opportunity to to do this.
And what's been the reaction since you guys made the announcement that you were part of this great package tour?
So far, what I've heard from people, some people have been like, how did they even get on this? Some people have been, oh my God, that's freaking killer.
Yeah,
can't wait to see you guys. There's been some mixed reactions, but all have been very positive.
Well, again, I look forward to seeing how the tour does. I'm probably go catch a tour when it comes to my town. I live in Los Angeles, but let me ask you, with the music business being what it is today, it's not like when we were growing up and you could go to the local record store and buy the latest CD. So, if people want to get a physical copy, is that can they do that, or is it just released digitally?
No, we actually the new album's available on vinyl and CD.
Great.
You can find it on Amazon.
That's the place.
All the major outlets. They can look at www.drummerthrash.com, our website. But yeah, it's available in CD and vinyl. And I believe the record company that we're signed with, they made clear and blue vinyl albums, which are really cool.
Oh, that's fun. And kind of a little collector's thing. And let me let me ask you too. I know when I went on Facebook and typed in trauma, you wouldn't believe all the things that come up. It's pretty fun search. But if you're a hard enough trauma fan, you'll find it. You can find it.
Yeah, I usually tell people put in trauma metal band.
Okay, yeah, that's a great description right there.
The problem with trauma is it's associated too with the medical industry.
Yeah.
And there's one other band called Trauma that is in Indonesia, and then we get mixed up with those guys quite often.
And I'm just curious. I think I did see that. And I'm assuming their band came after yours.
Yeah, we were here first.
And is there a reason it hasn't really been a problem? Is it just everybody obviously knows this is the band from Indonesia, so we're not going to worry about that.
Right.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to really overthink it too much.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't make people do something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
All you have to do is look at the history of us, and this band's been around since 1981.
Yeah, there's another metal band like that, I think, called Heretic, and then there's a Heretic USA, two totally different bands. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And let's talk about, I love the album cover, kind of cool looking album cover. Talk a little bit about the artwork there.
Well, that was the concept. There's a guy named Johannes. He's got a company called DangerousAge.com.
Okay. Wow.
He's done a lot of different album covers for a lot of different bands over the years. And he kind of came up with the concept of that whole thing that we were really, really happy about.
Yeah. And it's probably a hard question I'm getting ready to ask you. Probably picking your favorite child, but do you have any songs you really particularly like off a new album? You probably love all of them, but is there one that's special to your heart?
I've been getting asked that question a lot lately. I do like all the material off the new album. If I had to pick one track, we have a video that's going to be coming out in January. It's a song called Meat.
Okay, wow.
That's kind of really, I'm really digging that one because it's, we had a really good reaction with that. We played over at the Alcatraz Festival this past August. And we got a really good reaction off that song. And, we played it in front of several thousand people that had never heard any of this music at all. And the reaction was really good. Oh,
wow. Well, Chris, let me just, before we let you go, wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I want to wish the band and you great luck on this tour. I really hope it's going to raise the profile of the band because you guys have been around for years. And I think it's well deserved that you guys finally get on a tour like this.
Oh man, I truly appreciate that, and I wish you all the best and happy holidays and all that stuff as well. And I'm glad you dig the record.
Yeah, well, and let me just wrap this up with this. Let's keep in touch because I interviewed you once before, and you're a super nice guy, and I'm really digging what I'm hearing out the new album. People can go grab a new album. You're gonna love it. And I'll just say, like, anytime you guys have anything to promote, feel free to reach out to me. And just I'll let Chip know. But the interview I'm probably gonna be posting in
Chaotic Riffs Magazine.